कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते भूरिदा जनाः. Today is the holy day of Swami Adbhutanandaji's birthday. Swami Adbhutanandaji was one of the 16 monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, and as his name indicates, Adbhuta means wonder. He was a wonder of Sri Ramakrishna's creations. Perhaps this name was given to him by Swami Vivekananda himself. Everything about this disciple of Sri Ramakrishna was very wonderful. We will see when we go through some of the incidents of his life, how wonderful was he, how very, very distinct from the lives of others. He was born in Chhapra district of Bihar. He was so reticent, silent about himself. If anybody would ask him about the details of his previous monastic, the Purvashrama, the previous to his monastic life, he would not tell anything. If anyone, even very intimate devotees, when they would ask him something about his Purvashrama, he would say, "Why do you bother yourself with all those non-requirements of your necessities? Think about God. Instead of inquiring about God and thinking about Him, you want to know something about my previous life." So he was so reticent about himself. We don't have the date of his birth also. All his life is never revealed, his date of birth. Perhaps he himself had forgotten about it. We don't know. And his village, the village where he was born, it's not available to us. Only his name was Raktu Ram. Raktu Ram means he that has been protected by God. Rakshita Rama. It seems when he was born, earlier to him several children had died of his mother. Therefore she prayed to him, prayed to the Lord to keep at least this boy alive. That was how he was protected by Sri Ramchandra. Therefore he was named as Raktu Ram. And this Raktu Ram, when he came to Calcutta, so he became a servant boy in a rich man's house. We will come to that incident. So he was called in that house, dear one. In Bengali, any dear boy is called Lal, like Jawaharlal. Lal means dear. So he was called Lal. And in Bengal they add one tar, tu to a name. So for Lal, somebody added one tu, Lal tu it became. So Lal became Lal tu. And then when Lal tu came to Sri Ramakrishna, he made that Lal tu into Latu. So it became Latu. Later on when he became a famous knower of Brahman, a great man of knowledge, wisdom, then Swami Vivekananda was wondering at his tremendous progress in spiritual life. He made that Latu into Plato. So this Lal, Laltu, Latu, Leto, Plato, so all these differences, so different names were all addressing Latu Maharaj. He was a wonder in that sense also. He was coming from a shepherd's family, very poor family. So naturally the poor people, in everywhere they suffer, and in Bihar already it is a land of poverty. Somehow or other, some problem or other is always there. From that time out down to today also, among all the North Indian states, Bihar is one of the very poor states. So in that, these were further poor people. He came from a shepherd's family. His parents passed away when he was 5 years old. So only his paternal uncle was taking care of him. But this paternal uncle also got into the bad books of the landlord of the place. So the landlord went on torturing him and trying him for all sorts of troubles. He also could not continue in the village. So he decided to leave the village and leave the state itself and come over to Calcutta. Calcutta was the capital of the British Empire at that, capital of India, and second largest city in the British Empire at that time. So anybody who wanted an employment or wanted to have a better life, they would all migrate to Calcutta. Similarly, his paternal uncle migrated to Calcutta, and as luck would have it, he also got a job in some landlord's house, and he put this boy also as a boy servant in one of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples. And that Sri Ramakrishna's disciple was Dr. Ramchandra Datta. He was the doctor himself. He had some medicines which he had discovered himself, and he was getting into great fame in Calcutta. He was a lecturer in the medical college there. So he kept this boy of hardly 16, 17 years with him. And what was his work? Just as in our household's work, such boys who have no education, nothing whatsoever. So he was sent for purchases of vegetables and other small purchases, and he was escorting the ladies of the house to their relatives and friends, etc., etc. Small jobs used to be given. And he was very honest, very loving. That is why, as I earlier said, he began to be called a Lal, then became Lal too. So he became Lal too to all the household. And he was dear to all the people, young and old. But all people are not of the same kind in a household. So some relatives used to come. These relatives, they used to tell, he was wrestling. It is usual in the northern states when you go, North India, in almost all the villages, even in other states in south also I have seen, young people in the village, they always practice wrestling. That is one of the very common games the young people play in the village. So he used to practice wrestling to keep himself fit. So one of the relatives, it seems, remarked to Ramchandra Datta, if he practice wrestling, that means he gets more tired and he will eat more food. So that will be more expenses for you to stop him from wrestling. Then Ramchandra Datta was more intelligent than them. He said, you don't know, wrestling and other hard exercises make young people control their lust. So they bring their emotions under control through hard exercises. You must encourage them. So that is how Ramchandra Datta was very positive in his outlook. Another time, one relative came and told Latu himself directly, you are taking so much money from your household and going and purchasing vegetables, fruits, etc. How much of money you are pilfering from there? See the meanness of the master himself is not telling. The relatives that have come for a few days, they are so mean. So they made such a remark. But Laltu was such a straightforward boy. He said, sir, I may be poor and therefore I am a servant, but I am not dishonest, I am not a thief. He told directly at their face, and they got insulted. Oh, he has just told on our face that I am not a thief, I am not dishonest, as you say. They went and complained to Ramchandra Datta. See your servant, how audacity, what audacity he has to reply a relative of yours. Then Ramchandra Datta supported his servant. He is right. He is an honest boy, he is truthful, therefore he has replied you like that. Why did you go and tell him like that? So that was Ramchandra Datta, a good master under whom this Rakturam was employed. So Ramchandra Datta used to visit Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna also loved him, and when he would be at home also, he would talk about Sri Ramakrishna to everyone. In fact, Ramchandra Datta was one of the very staunch disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, who used to talk about Sri Ramakrishna as the Avatara. He was one of the very first to speak about Sri Ramakrishna as an incarnation of God. He and Girish Chandra Ghosh were very vociferous. One day, Ramchandra Datta, after Sri Ramakrishna's Mahasamadhi, this Ramchandra Datta was a well-known speaker also in Calcutta circles. One day he was lecturing in a theatre, and he was telling, whoever has seen Sri Ramakrishna even once, they will all get released from this bondage of birth and death, he said. Then somebody questioned from the audience, the rickshaw pullers and the horse drivers, the horse cart drivers, so many have taken Sri Ramakrishna in their horse cart or in their rickshaws. Do they all get released from the birth and death? Then from the stage, this great speaker, Ramchandra Datta, doctor, he left his shoes there, came out and then said, come, you deny what I have said, I will take this shoe beating from you. If you dare to do it. Then all the people kept silent. That was his burning faith in Sri Ramakrishna's incarnation. So this Ramchandra Datta used to speak to his people at home also about the glory of Sri Ramakrishna. One of the things he used to again and again tell to all his people in the household was, God considers, Sri Ramakrishna again and again says, God considers one's feelings. He does not consider one's status. He does not care whether one is rich or poor, or one is scholarly or one is uneducated. He does not care for any status. He cares only for the genuine feelings. Do people really want God? He used to talk about this. Then he always used to say, God always requires selflessness from us. He wants the real yearning, real desire for us to see God. If we are sincere in requesting God to reveal Himself, which is called yearning, this is what God wants from us. He wants selflessness from us. This is what God requires from us. Again he used to say, God certainly reveals Himself. He shows Himself to others if anybody weeps for Him in solitude. In solitude, not for show to others. From his own depth of his heart, somebody weeps for God, that I want to see you. You are my own. How can I live without you? Like that, with his innermost feelings, if somebody can shed tears for God, certainly he will realize God. These three things he would go on repeating. That impressed this Latu very much, that God considers one's feelings and not his status. God looks into selflessness and yearning only. God reveals oneself if one weeps for Him in silence. These three statements of Ramchandra Datta impressed him so much, he immediately took these three things as the real spiritual guidelines for him. He started practicing spiritual life after hearing this. See the earnestness, this boy is ready for a spiritual life. Anything that comes that way, he grabs at it. So immediately he started practicing these three ideals. He would just cover himself with the cloth when his work was over by 11 or 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Afterwards, when the household would go for rest, so he would silently cover himself with a cloth, lying down on the floor, would go on weeping for God, praying to Him in solitude. So give me selflessness, give me yearning. He would pray and then would shed tears for God. Then the household people sometimes would note him that he would be shedding tears. He was not aware of it. Then they would think perhaps he is remembering his relatives at the village which he had left. So they used to think he is weeping for some relatives. Actually he was weeping for God. But this yearning for Sri Ramakrishna, yearning for God, so it just was increasing in him. It was purifying his heart and making him ready for a direct meeting with Sri Ramakrishna. One day, it was a Sunday, Ramchandra Datta was telling that I am going to see Sri Ramakrishna today. Immediately Latu went to him and then told him, Sir, please take me also. I have heard so many times about Paramahamsa from you. I want also to see him. Please take me also with me. So naturally Ramchandra Datta was kind. Come along with me. They might have arrived at Dakshineshwar by a boat. Then when they came and climbed up the stairs from Ganga, then came into the Dakshineshwar yard, then they went into Sri Ramakrishna's room. Sri Ramakrishna was not in his room. Perhaps he had gone to Kali temple. Then Ramchandra Datta told this boy, Latu, you be standing here in this veranda, I will go and find him out. So he went towards the temple, thinking he is in the temple. But Sri Ramakrishna had gone the other northern side. So he returned from the northern side and found this Latu standing there in the western porch. So as soon as he met him, he was so much impressed by this boy. He started, where are you coming from? So he was just about to start his conversation. In the meanwhile, Ramchandra Datta, finding Sri Ramakrishna not in the Dakshineshwar temple, so he came back. When he came back, then Sri Ramakrishna just told Ramchandra Datta, where did you find this boy? This boy has got such saintly features in him. Shahadur Lokkan. Shahadur Lokkanachi. He has got the lakshanas of a sadhu, sannyasi, a saintly man. He has got the characteristics of a saintly man. Where did you find such a good boy? And then he started praising the qualities of real spiritual people. Then he said, you see, such saintly people, they are as if, hidden fountains. Many old buildings fall down. So dilapidated buildings, people think everything is useless there. They don't go there at all. But the big buildings, they will have fountains there connected with them. That fountains will be covered by the debris. So if somebody removes the debris, suddenly the fountain starts working. Then the fountain springs up and you see a beautiful fountain. So Sri Ramakrishna says, these great saintly people, they may be looking like servant boys, they may look like a beggar, they may look like people uneducated, uncultured, without any literary education. But the spirituality will be like a fountain in them. It will sprout by itself. So as saying this one, he went and touched Latu. And Latu went into Bhava Samadhi. It is an ecstatic spiritual state which people go after a lot of spiritual sadhana. By the first touch of Sri Ramakrishna, Latu went into that spiritual ecstasy. Then Sri Ramakrishna told, you see, I was telling, he is not an ordinary boy. He has got the hidden spirituality in him. I see so many characteristics of a saint in him. He is a very good boy. Bring him now and then. Then Sri Ramakrishna touched him again. He came down from ecstasy. And then he tells Ramchandra Datta, please send him now and then here, or you can bring him here. And tell Latu also, you come again. This come again was Sri Ramakrishna's magic word. If he says this come again, it is not mere come again, you must come again, there is no other way. When once you meet him once, you are gone. You are as if tied to him once and for all. So he told Latu also, come again. So the second meeting was, Latu himself came to meet him, perhaps taking permission from Ramchandra Datta. Then Sri Ramakrishna was very happy to meet him. Then he told, you stay here for a day or two and take meals at the Vishnu temple. Why Vishnu temple? Because there is Kali temple is there, then Vishnu temple is there, Shiva's temple is there. In Kali's temple they offer fish etc. to mother as prasad. Whereas in Vishnu temple they offer only vegetarian food, fruits, sweets etc. and rice without any fish or anything. And Sri Ramakrishna knew this boy from Bihar, he may be a vegetarian boy. So therefore he told, you take the prasad from Vishnu temple, that will suit you. Then Latu said, no sir, I don't want Vishnu temple prasad, I will take your own prasad. Whatever you eat, you give me a part of it, I will eat. Then Sri Ramakrishna used to make fun later on. You see, this fellow is so intelligent, he want to take part of my food itself. He doesn't want the ordinary food that is given there. A few items only will be given in the Naivedya. For Sri Ramakrishna, they will add some more things. He wants to partake of my food itself. So he stayed there for some time. Then, with great joy, he went away on that day. Then, another time, he went, and that was third meeting. Then he comes and tells Sri Ramakrishna, "Sir, I am not at all interested in working with Ramchandra Datta, so please allow me to stay here itself." Then Sri Ramakrishna says, "No, not now, because I am myself going away for 8 full months." Sri Ramakrishna used to leave Dakshineshwar once in 2 or 3 years. Once for about 6, 7, 8 months, he would spend the time in Kamarpukur village. So that time had come. So for 8 months I am going to be away from here. I am going to Kamarpukur. You will not find me here, but I cannot take you to Kamarpukur. Therefore, now you be with him, but you live and do your duties properly and be thinking about me. I will come back and we will meet. So he pacified him and went away. But Latu could not control himself from coming to Dakshineshwar. Whether Sri Ramakrishna is there or not physically, he is there always in a divine form. In his divine presence, he is always there in Dakshineshwar. He used to believe that. So he used to come away from Calcutta and stay at Dakshineshwar near Sri Ramakrishna's room and would pray. And then one day he had a vision of Sri Ramakrishna there. After having the vision, then he thought it is Sri Ramakrishna himself directly standing before him. Then he got up and fell at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna, and after saluting he got up and Sri Ramakrishna's vision went away. Then at that time Ramlal came. Ramlal was doing puja. Ramlal came. Immediately Latu asked Ramlal, "Ramlal, where did Paramahamsa go?" "Paramahamsa? He was never here. He is never in Kamarpukur." "Oh, is it so?" Then Latu realizes that it is a vision. It is not real Sri Ramakrishna he saw. It is a divine form he saw. Then immediately corrected himself, saying, "He may be in Kamarpukur, but he is everywhere. He is a divine person. So if somebody wants, they can see him here also." He never revealed that I saw him here. So that was how he was so much devoted. With his devotion, he could get a vision of Sri Ramakrishna at that time. Then Sri Ramakrishna returns after 8 months. Then Latu now and then goes there. So once when he was massaging his feet, he gets into spiritual ecstasy. And that spiritual ecstasy was so deep, for the whole night he was in the spiritual state. Next day morning only, he came down from that spiritual ecstasy. Then Sri Ramakrishna asked Ramchandra Datta once to send this Latu permanently here, because Hriday has left. Hriday, he used to serve him. So Hriday was sent away for some misbehavior with the landlords there. So he was asked to get away from there. So when Hriday was not there, there is nobody to take care of me. Why don't you send this Latu permanently here? So this is how Latu got released from his worldly duties. So God, Sri Ramakrishna later on in his teachings, again and again used to say, you don't have to leave your duties. Go on doing your duties with earnestness, with dedication, and then pray to the Lord to relieve you from your worldly duties. Worldly duties are given to you because we have done our previous karmas are there. So we are working out that karma. So simply saying I will run away from the duty is not the way to get freedom from duty. You go on doing your duty, but offer all the fruits of the duties to the Lord and pray that you should be freed from your duties. And God at the right time will free you from the duty. You will never feel that you have given up your responsibility to anybody else. That you have done your responsibility, you will have that satisfaction. At the same time, you will not be required to continue your duty. So this day will come by itself. It is the mature state when duties drop off themselves. You don't have to give up the duty. Duties drop off by themselves. So that state had come. So his duties had been finished. So Sri Ramakrishna asked Ramchandra Datta to permanently send him here. So his secular duties were over. So he came, he became a 24-hour servant of Sri Ramakrishna. Then Sri Ramakrishna took him as a real teacher. So Sri Ramakrishna was a complete teacher. When he would take up somebody for training, he would not train him only in spirituality. He would train him for the worldly life also. We see him training Holy Mother. Holy Mother says, he taught me everything about the worldly life also, how I should behave with my relatives, how I should get into the cart first and come down from the cart last, how I should be careful about the worldly things, how to discriminate between the good and the bad people. Everything about the worldly life also she was taught. And she also says, I was taught Samadhi also, the highest in spiritual life. That was Sri Ramakrishna's training. He started the same training with Latu also. So he started Latu, he does not ABCD also to write or read. Let me teach him some ABCD. A. So he started him teaching all right, take a slate and write and pronounce this one, A. So in Bengali, A is pronounced O, like that O. A is O and A is pronounced A. O, A. This is how you have to pronounce. But this fellow is from Bihar. In Bihar, just as we pronounce, they do it. A is A. A is A. So A, we say. In Bengal, they say O, A. That should be. Then Sri Ramakrishna went on teaching O, A. He went on telling A. So several times he taught him O, He says Are, if you say when I say O, if you say when I say what will you say? So you will not be able to learn, give it up. So Sri Ramakrishna himself was in a way unlettered. He outdid the master. He did not know also. Till the end, he did not go to learn at all. Perhaps Sri Ramakrishna wanted to give him as a model to the world that you don't require also, not a single letter. So literacy is not a necessity for spiritual life. So illiterate people also can attain to the highest in spirituality. So to prove that, so that that ended up all his secular education. But again and again he used to tell, hey Latu, always keep your mind pure and free from dirt. Sri Ramakrishna always meant by dirt the ego, ahankar. So he said, keep your mind free from dirt, free from ego, be always humble, always a servant of God. You remember? So be a servant of God, and everywhere God is there. Be a servant of everybody. Don't allow your ego to assert itself in any way. So he took 100% the teaching of him. One day, Sri Ramakrishna asked him, what is your Ramchandra doing? He was a great devotee of Sri Ramachandra. So he called Latu and said, what Latu, your Ramchandra, what is he doing now? Then, Lord, what will Latu say? He will keep it quiet. Then Sri Ramakrishna himself told, your Ramchandra is passing the elephant to pass through the eye of the needle. This is what he is doing. Sitting in Goloka, Vaikunta, Ramchandra is making big elephant pass through the eye of the needle. If anybody else would have been there, how is it possible, sir? They would have said. Latu did not say anything. He accepted it. When Ramchandra is doing it, he can do everything. Everything is possible for God. He can make the elephant pass through the eye of the needle. Later on, he gave an intellectual explanation. When he became a wise man, a God-realized person, for every spiritual question he had a unique answer. So this same point he said, you see, once Sri Ramakrishna asked me, what is your Ramji doing? And he himself said, he is passing the elephants go through the eye of the needle. Now I see he was very right. You see, we were all ignorant fools with such small minds. He made the Brahmajnana get into this small mind. This is the elephant to go through eye needle, nothing. Brahmajnana to come into our small minds, how big it is. This is what he was doing. That is Ramji's work. God does like that. He gives Brahmajnana to these ignorant fools like us out of His grace. See the wonderful explanation. The same simile is there in Bible also. Jesus also says, it is easier for the camels to pass through the eye of the needle than a rich man to get into heaven. So the same simile comes, but nobody has explained it. It can be true. It was the genius of this unlettered knower of God. He gives an intellectual explanation. It is possible. When Brahmajnana can get into your limited minds, it is much, much more wonderful than an elephant get through the eye of the needle. Then, one day Sri Ramakrishna himself told, this is God, don't forget that. From that day onwards, he came to know that Latu, that Sri Ramakrishna is none other than perfect God in that human form. Then one day, Latu Maharaj was sitting on the banks of Ganga, perhaps contemplating on some teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. He was alone and keeping quiet. Then Sri Ramakrishna went that way, found him sitting there, and he had seen also Holy Mother, kneading wheat flour, some several kgs of wheat flour for making chapatis, all alone. Then he went to Latu and told, hey Latu, what are you doing here, trying to meditate here? And Holy Mother is struggling there to prepare some chapatis, etc. Go and serve her. He brought Latu with him, along with him. And Holy Mother would not allow any boys to come and serve her. So he introduces this Ladu. This boy is a very sattvic boy. So you give him whatever work you want to give, he will serve you. Then from that moment onwards, Mother also got so much attached to him, so intimate with him. And Latu became a perfect servant. We will see him dedicated to her as a real servant till the last. So he was one of the only 3 disciples of Sri Ramakrishna who could serve Mother also, along with Sri Ramakrishna. Others could only serve Sri Ramakrishna. Mother did not allow them to go and serve him. But it was Latu was given that opportunity. He served Mother. Lifelong he was serving Holy Mother. Later on, much later when Holy Mother was guiding the Sangha, Holy Mother was staying in Balram Babu's house, and she was to go to Jairambati. So just before going to Jairambati, and Latu Maharaj was staying in the downstairs, at the ground floor, in one of the rooms. Then Holy Mother thought, I am leaving the Balram Babu's house for several months for Jairambati, so let me just meet this Latu and go. Latu was staying in the ground floor, one of the rooms. Mother went to his room. Room was open. He said, Latu, she just peeped in the room, and Latu Maharaj saw her. Then he jumped from, what? You are my mistress, you are my mistress, you are my lord. So why did you come to my room? You should have sat in your room and ordered me. I would have come into your room like a servant. And you come into your room, go to your room, I will come to you. So that attitude of a servant, it was so deep in him. He could not tolerate she coming to his room. And then another time, when he heard that Mother is going to Jairambati. So it was a very sad news for him. To see Mother every day morning, it was a joy for him. For several months he would not get it. So this sorrow was afflicting him. To overcome that affliction, he was repeating to himself, who is Mother to whom? Who is Mother to whom? Like that he is repeating inside his room. And Mother was coming down. Mother heard about it. Who is Mother to whom? Nobody is Mother to whom. Nobody is relative to me. So when he was telling, Mother came to him and said, you may not care for your mother, but I care for my son. I want all my sons. You may not care for your mother, but I want all my sons. Then immediately Latu Maharaj fell at her feet and started weeping. And then mother also started weeping. Then Latu Maharaj got up, took out his towel from his shoulder, started just taking away the tears from her eyes, and then asking her, don't weep, you are going to your father's house, you should go smiling. Then when mother became pacified, then he bid her farewell. This was the tremendous relationship between mother and Latu Maharaj. Then one day, once in Dakshineshwar, in the evening, Latu felt a little sleepy. So he went into sleep. When he was sleeping, Sri Ramakrishna came that way. Then he saw him, he is sleeping at the evening time when the Vesper services are going on, when the Aarti is going on in the temple, he is sleeping. Then he told him, what? In the evening is it good to sleep? You should not sleep. You see, God works day and night and He does not sleep at all, at any time. And you want to realize God and you are sleeping in the evening. That was all. He never slept throughout his life in the night. Whole night he would not sleep at all. Only in the morning, in the noon, he would take a few hours nap, a little rest, and the whole night he would be awake. Because Master has asked me not to sleep in the night. Over. So throughout his life, he never slept at all. Then one day he was playing a small game called the Golok Dham. Golok Dham is what we call as here you ascend to the heaven by playing you have the dice, you play the dice, you get the number 8 or 6 or 12, then you put your coin there, and if there is a ladder, you go up. The snakes and ladders, it's called the snakes and ladders chart. Big snakes and ladders is there. If you go to the ladders route, you will go up by some 20-25 houses. And if there is a snake is there, if you get into its mouth, you will come down by 25 houses. So the snake and ladder game is there. And last, when you must somehow get up, and then the last one is the region of God. It's called Goloka, Vaikunta. So, Paramapada Sopana it is called. In Canaries, that chart is called Paramapada Sopana. The supreme abode of God is reached by slowly going through ladders and falling through the mouth of the snake, again going through ladder, you come and reach. So they were playing that one. Then Latu also, it was playing in the room of Sri Ramakrishna, and other devotees were all there. So they are all putting the dice, and there somebody is going up, somebody is going down. Latu also was trying to play. So when Latu's turn came, he put the dice in such a way, one big ladder is there, straight away he went to Paramapada Sopana. He came and reached the highest. Then he started jumping all around the room. Then Sri Ramakrishna remarked, see how joyful he is. It is only in that game he has reached the abode of God, Paramapada. But he thinks that he really reached. This is how God does not let down his devotees, even in his game. If he had not reached the highest, he would not have been happy. Therefore, God always is behind him, even when he is playing, he takes care of him. This was in contrast. Hazara was also playing. Hazara, as soon as he put the dice, he fell into the mouth of the snake, came down to the 0 point. So, Sri Ramakrishna said, see that Hazara is so egoistic, I will win everywhere. That is why he was humbled by God. So he went into the mouth of the snake and came to the 0 point. So Sri Ramakrishna had all fun. Even in these funny moments of light mood, he was teaching the high spiritual truths. Then one day, Latu Maharaj had a vision of Shiva's light. Light came from Shiva's temple, and he went into ecstasy, and for several hours he would not come down. When Sri Ramakrishna went and saw him and brought him down from that ecstasy. Another day he had a vision of Kali. Then another day he was just leaning against a tree, and went into deep samadhi. Then Narendra, etc., they saw him. So Narendra was always very particular to test everybody. Then he said, he has gone into samadhi. Is it samadhi or just like it has gone into sleep? Let me see. Then he is leaning against a tree. Then Narendra is taking a big bamboo and beating against the tree from behind. So such vigorous beating he is giving. Anybody who was asleep also would have been awakened. But Latu could not be awakened. Any amount of beating, he could not be brought down from his ecstasy. Then Narendra was satisfied. Really samadhi. And it took several hours for Latu to come down. And Sri Ramakrishna, after hearing him, then he said, he has a new birth in spirituality today. That means he has risen to a very high level of spiritual realization today. Then we know that Sri Ramakrishna became ill, and then he went away to Kashipur. Then Latu Maharaj also went there, and Latu was massaging Sri Ramakrishna's head one day. When he was massaging, he got into the Advaitic state, the spiritual state where you forget the whole world and yourself and become one with Brahman. So he got that non-dualistic state, the Advaita experience on that day, which Swami Vivekananda also got through the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. Then Latu Maharaj was simple. He used to later on say that on that day when I massaged Sri Ramakrishna's head, I was transported to a level where I experienced a state which was beyond all taste. I tasted the one beyond all taste. I sighted one which was beyond all sight. That is how the Upanishads describe the experience of Brahman. It is arupam, arasam, agandham. It is beyond all smell, beyond all taste, beyond all sight. So he is telling in his own village language. So he is telling, I tasted that which is beyond taste. I saw that one which was beyond sight. It was a super sensual experience. So on that day, he had an Advaitic experience by Sri Ramakrishna's grace. Afterwards, Sri Ramakrishna passed away in Mahasamadhi, leaving this world. Then Swami Latu took the sannyasa also, and most probably Swami Vivekananda gave him the name Adbhutananda. Adbhuta being wonder, the wonder of Sri Ramakrishna. So Adbhutananda, the person who takes joy in the wonderful thing that is God. Then one of the Adbhutas, one of the wonders in his life was, he would do japa day in and day out. Always he would be repeating the name of God. Throughout the night he would be doing japa. So one day, and doing japa, he would be using the japamala. And japamala, in the silence of the night, we make some sound. So with those people with sensitive ears, they can hear. So Shardanand Swami was sleeping. He heard this, what is this sound? So he thought some rat must have come. It was a dilapidated house where they were staying. So this sound continuously going on. So he said some rat must have entered, it may be eating up something which we don't, which we have kept for eating or something. So he put on the light and found Latu Maharaj is doing japa. So he was caught doing japa. This is how. So he was doing japa all through the night. And japa and meditation became so habitual with him. He would be going out and then he would be in Calcutta and it would become night. He would not come back to the Baranagar ashram. He would find out some boat would be there. So in the boats in Calcutta, they carry hay, the hay to different distant places. Whole boat will be filled with hay. There is no place at all except for the boatman there. So, and this, it will take 2-3 days to stack the whole hay, and afterwards it will carried to distant places on the river. So when Latu Maharaj knew all this, so now he has stacked for 1/3. So another 2/3 are to be stacked. So this will be at least for another 24 hours here. So So he will go on bringing more and more hay and we will go on stacking. In the middle I can meditate here. There is a silent place. He gets into that boat and goes into high spiritual ecstasy. So in the meanwhile that fellow has brought all the hay and the whole boat is full and he started driving that boat. So he is sailing the boat and Latu Maharaj is not aware at all. So some 10-12 kilometers up the river he has gone away. And Latu Maharaj comes down from his meditation, finds that he is there in the center of the river. He cannot get down. And this man does not know. He is in front and this Latu is sitting behind the hay. Then he shouts from there, hey, I am sitting here. So I belong to Calcutta, so I must go back to Calcutta. So you please put me onto the shore. From there I will walk back to Calcutta. So somehow or other he would bring the boat to the shore and make Latu Maharaj come down, get down there, and he would walk 12 kilometers back to Calcutta. Many times it would happen. Sometimes he would get into the Sialda railway station. There some empty wagon would be there. So he thought this empty wagon, for days together it will be lying. So let me meditate in this. He would just get into that. So one day he was meditating. For his bad luck, the engine came and dragged it away to some 50-60 kilometers away. Then when he came down, he finds he is 60 kilometers away from Calcutta. He got down from the wagon, then walked all the way back. Such was this habit of meditation. Wherever he could sit, he would go into ecstasy. Then he went to Puri Jagannath on a trip, on a pilgrimage to see Jagannath. So when he went to Puri, hours together he used to be standing and praying to Jagannath. Later on he used to say, I prayed for 2 boons from Jagannath. So all the devotees were very much interested. So he does not ask for anything, either from man or from God. So what boons did he ask from God? They asked, sir, what did you ask from Puri Jagannath? He said, I asked him, one boon was, you please show me your form which you showed to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent the last 18 years of his life in Puri, from morning till evening looking at Jagannath. He would go and stand in the temple of Jagannath at a distance, leaning against a pillar. Even today they show you the Chaitanya's pillar there in Jagannath's temple. He would lean against. In the pictures of Chaitanya also you see, he is leaning against a pillar and in full ecstasy. So Chaitanya, you look at Jagannath and that beauty of Jagannath would appear to him, living form. He would go on shedding tears of ecstasy. From morning till evening he would spend like that. Then come back to his house. So 18 years he spent like that. What should have been that beauty? So he prayed for that. You please reveal to me that beauty which you revealed to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was one boon. Second boon was, give me good digestion. Good digestion. Then the devotee said, what sort of a boon this is? To ask Jagannath to give you good digestion. So many people are having good digestion. In fact, there is not enough to digest. We don't have enough food to digest. So why did you ask for digestion? He said, look, we are all sannyasins. We don't cook our food. Nor is there any ashrama for every one of us, always to give you food. So we go and beg from different houses. And we don't also take food from one house. We beg for half a dozen houses. That is how the sannyasins are advised. When they take bhiksha or they beg food, they don't take it from one single house. It should not be a burden to anybody. So just like a bee collects honey from different flowers, so the sannyasin also will collect from half a dozen houses, little from here. Nobody feels any strain. So one handful of rice somebody will give, one handful of dal somebody will give, one something else, one handful. So some 6 houses they collect and then eat. So what type of food they give, we do not know. So to digest that one, if you don't have digestive power, you will fall ill. If you fall ill means how will you do sadhana? Therefore I asked for strong digestive power, so that whatever I eat, I should digest. Even the digestion is for keeping the body fit, and keeping the body fit were to call on God. Everything was oriented to God realization or enjoyment of God's joy. Then, when Swami Vivekananda comes back from the West in 1897, he was meeting all the direct disciples, and he did not find Latu at all. Latu was hiding in Alam Bazar Mutt. So Alam Bazar Mutt was the mutt where all the others were staying. So where is Latu? Where is Latu? Then he was searching. At last, after waiting for some time, then Latu knew that Narayan is searching for him. Then he comes out from a corner where he was hiding himself. He came out. Then Narayan asked, "You see, I was searching for you all this while. Where were you?" "No, I hid myself so that to find out whether you remember me at all. Now you have become a big man. You have gone to America, and then you have got so many great disciples. And then whether you remember me, I want to test you. Therefore I hid myself." So simple was he. Then Narayan embraced him. "Are Latu, you are the same Latu. I am the same Narayan. I have not become any big or small. I am the same Narayan." So they became the great old friends. So they went together to Kashmir also. Somehow or other Swamiji had a great love for Latu. As I told you earlier, it was he who made that name Latu into Plato, because he has become a great knower of God. Plato was a great jnani, great man of wisdom. So similarly, Latu was a man of wisdom. So he was called Plato by Swami Vivekananda. So he said, "Plato, you come with me. Let us go to Kashmir." Kashmir, so many of his women disciples from West also were there. He wanted to show India. So he took them also. He took Latu also with him. And in Kashmir, there is the Dal Lake, and there the houseboats are there. The boats that are very similar to the hotels on the water. So they are just like hotels on the water. The man who ferries you, he himself prepares food 4 times in a day. He will feed you. You have got other conveniences inside. You can play, you can read, you can recline yourself, rest yourself, just like a moving restaurant. So one of the moving restaurants was hired by the Western disciples. Swamiji also got into it. Then Latu Maharaj says, "I will not get into this boat. But we are going to be in this boat for 3-4 days. We will go to different places on the Dal Lake, see different scenes, beautiful scenes of Kashmir. So where will you be here? There is no other place for you to stay." He said, "No, ladies are here. You are ladies' disciple, so I will not go with the ladies." Then Swamiji said, "When I am there, there is no fear for you. Come." Then he obeyed. Narendra got into the boat. So they went and had good time seeing around Kashmir. And later on, this unlettered Latu became wise. He knew everything about God and God's teachings. God's teachings are the Vedas and the Puranas and Bhagavad Gita and all his words of God. When he knows God himself made him know also about all the Vedas, Vedangas, Puranas, Gita, etc. As Sri Ramakrishna said, "I prayed to Mother, Mother, teach me what is in the Vedas, what is in the Vedanta, what is in the Puranas and Tantras." Mother taught me everything. Sri Ramakrishna says this one, we read this. Same thing has happened to Latu also. Latu knew all the Shastras, all the Gita. So one day he had gone with one of our very, very scholarly Swamis, the first non-direct disciple, president of our order, the disciple of Swami Vivekananda, Sudhir Maharaj. Sudhir Maharaj, Shuddhananda Swami. After the direct disciples line ended, so Sudhir Maharaj was the first to become the president of our order, non-direct disciple president. Sudhir Maharaj was considered as a very high scholarly person. So this Sudhir Maharaj, he was called Sudhir, Shuddhananda Swami. Sudhir, he used to serve Latu Maharaj. in Kashi. In Kashi, one great Pandit, Shashadhar Tarkchudamani. So he was expounding Kathopanishad. So Latu Maharaj is sitting there, there are so many audience, and the exposition of Kathopanishad is going on. And the Pandit expounded a mantra saying that this Atman is inside the body, and this Atman is separated from the body and experienced as part and parcel of the infinite Brahman. So that mantra is telling about the Atman being completely different and distinct from the body. It is to be separated from the body and experienced as such. As soon as he told this mantra, immediately Latu Maharaj could get the meaning of it. He realized that he is different from the body and he is experiencing that, what he is telling. Then he got up with joy. All the people are sitting and listening. He said, he is telling that Sevak, his attendant with him, Sudhir, this Pandit, what he is telling is correct. So before everybody, hey, the Pandit ja bolche it a teak. Hey Sudhir, hey Pandit teak bolche re. It teak bolche re. The Pandit is telling correctly. Everybody was stunned. But he is in ecstasy. He is experiencing it. Then Sudhir Maharaj was very much embarrassed. In the meeting, he is standing up, he is not aware of himself. Then slowly brought him out of the meeting and brought him back to the ashram in Banaras. After coming to the ashram also, night at 10 o'clock, they are about to go to bed. Then Latu Maharaj is telling, Sudhir, Pandit theek bole chere. That Pandit has told correctly that the Atman is different from the body. That ecstatic experience of that, he could understand everything. Later on, Bhagavad Gita also, people would be reading, he would go and sit and he would give explanation to this is the meaning of this. Correct, it would be perfect. All the other direct disciples used to be wondering how this Latu can expound Bhagavad Gita, Kathopanishad and everything. It was the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. So many devotees used to go. So he would advise everybody. He had got a wonderful, what you call as the sixth sense or the spiritual eye. He doesn't have to explain any problem. Anybody went to him, even before you tell you the problem, he would give the solution to it. One lady had gone away from Calcutta, quarreling with her husband, to Banaras, and she went to have darshan. She knew Latu Maharaj. She went and saluted him. Just as she got up, she has not told anything about her problem. Then immediately Latu Maharaj told, it is not good to quarrel with the husband. If you quarrel with the husband, it is not your own problem and your husband's problem. Your children are there. Children's problem. See, what will they learn from parents? And they feel sorrowful. Yeah, you have no right to inflict sorrow on your children. At least for the sake of children, you should not quarrel. And there is endless problem. If there is a difference between the wife and husband, you must pacify yourself and live in a compromising way so that the children also are happy. Straight away went on advising. Another one lady had gone there. She was feeling a little piqued that her husband was not showing her enough of love. She just went and did salutation and got up. And Latu Maharaj, he has nothing to do with householdership, but he knows their problem. He immediately tells her, why do you think that your husband is not loving? Is the love of the husband to be shown to the whole world by taking you on a chariot and to the whole country to see? He loves you in his heart. Have it, know it. The love is something that between you and your husband, and it is in your house, not to the society to see. Do you think that he should take you in openly and then exhibit his love? Immediately she realized that she was right. That was how she was picked, that she was not taken out and then before everybody. So she got immediately corrected. So another one man, he went to Banaras. So his wife wanted to have darshan of Vishwanath. He was busy with something else. He said, what is there in Vishwanath? It is only stone. He did not allow his wife to go and have darshan. On the way, he met Latu Maharaj. As soon as Latu Maharaj saw him, why did you tell your life it is only a stone? Just now I saw Vishwanath himself is living there. I saw Vishwanath living there. He is the living force there. Why did you say like that it is only a stone? He was stunned. I never even tell anything. So that was Latu Maharaj. He knew everything. And he was so liberal in his religious views. In the beginning he was very, very adamant that only Sri Ramakrishna is to be worshipped. So when Abhedanand Swami wrote a praise of Sri Ramakrishna, Ishavattaram Paramesha Medyam, when he said Ishavatara, the incarnation of Isha, Isha means Ishvara, God. But Latu Maharaj thought Isha means Jesus. In Hindi, Jesus is called Isha. What? Just the other day Sri Ramakrishna has gone, you have started praising Jesus and leaving Sri Ramakrishna aside. He said, no, this Isha means Ishvara, God alone, we are worshipping Sri Ramakrishna only, not Jesus. So he was so fanatic in the beginning, but in the end he became so liberal. He would send present to the Muslim places of worship, Dargah. So he used to stand on sacred days, some presentations like silken cloth, etc., to be put on the Dargah. And on Christmas Eve and Good Fridays, the sacred days for Christians, he used to send cakes and sweets to the churches. And then one of the great disciples of him admirers of him was one great professor in Calcutta, De Mello. He is an Anglo-Indian Christian. He used to come to him and treat him as a guru. And he instructed De Mello in meditation. Then De Mello asked him, on whom shall I meditate? Then Latu Maharaj said, why? You are a Christian, meditate on Jesus. Then he said, why should I not meditate on Sri Ramakrishna? No, meditate on Jesus. Jesus is your religion, religious God. So we meditate on Jesus is as good as meditating on Sri Ramakrishna. So liberal was he. So this great man grew from that illiterate background to the highest wisdom, indicating Sri Ramakrishna treatment that religion has nothing to do with book learning. Anybody can attain to the highest if they have a good guru, if they follow the guru's instructions, if they have got burning faith in that, and hard work is to be put up, penance is to be done. One has to work very hard. All these characteristics were there in Swami Adbhutanandaji. And then last day when it came, there were several operations for his gangrene. He would not mind at all. So last day, when he passed away, he was his eyes were fully open. His whole face was filled with joy. Smile was there. Whole body indicated a joy. So Swami Turiyananda remarked, I never saw a person passing away with such great joy. So he passed away in 1920, April 4th at 12:10 p.m., taking a little Charanamrita as the last food for him. So his eyes were fully open, great joy, all of his features were noticed by Swami Turiyanandaji. He stands as an ideal of Sri Ramakrishna to show a person, underprivileged person, can rise to the highest knowledge. That is spirituality, has nothing to do with the book knowledge. So it is his life proves that one. His life is an encouragement to every one of us. So today, on this sacred day, we remember that great Swami Adbhutanandaji. May Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swami Vivekananda and Swami Adbhutanandaji bless us all. Niranjanam nityamanantarupam bhaktanukampadrita vigraham vai Yeshavataram paramesha medyam tam Ramakrishnam shirasa namamaha.